guys, it's Hannah, and today I have a lot of books to show you. I haven't done a haul in quite some time, and I've gotten a number of books since the last time I did one. I think I've only done one haul this year so far. So yeah, it's been a couple of months and I've gotten quite a few more books, and now I'm gonna share them with you all, and this video is probably gonna be really, really long, so I'm sorry for that. I have books from pretty much all over. I have a ton that were sent to me. I bought a few this month as well, so without any further ado, let's just get into them. First off, I have a few books that were sent to me by Simon & Schuster. The first book that they sent me was Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. This book was just released in late March, so it just came out very, very recently. And they also actually sent me the ARC as well, so I'll show you that in a little bit. But this is the beautiful finished copy, and it's so pretty. I've been anticipating this book ever since I heard about it because it just sounds really, really interesting. It's about these two characters who end up meeting and they exchange numbers, and they eventually have like a relationship that they just maintain through text, and they become like each other's emergency contacts. And I don't know what it is about this book. I've just heard like really good reviews, and the cover totally drew me in, and it just seems like something that I kind of want right now. Being someone who has a lot of friends who are online and a lot of my friends who are away from me, I maintain most of my relationships through text message, so it's just really interesting to get to read that in a book as well. So I cannot wait to read this book. I've actually already started it. I've read like the first 15 pages, and so far I really like it, but I'm hoping that I end up loving it as well because I can definitely see it becoming a favorite. The next book that they sent me was For Everyone by Jason Reynolds. This is a collection of poetry. As you all know, I really love reading poetry. I love poetry collections. I literally have a poetry shelf on my bookshelf, but I've just heard really fantastic things about Jason Reynolds writing his novels. A lot of people really, really love them, and I really want to read some of them, but I think starting out with his poetry will be really interesting as well, so I cannot wait to read this. The next book that Simon Teen sent over was The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. This is one that I've been anticipating for so long. I've talked about it a couple times on my channel now, but just like, again, this cover, man, it's so nice. This book is essentially kind of inspired by the Salem witch trials, and it follows these sisters who are witches, and they end up being killed because they're suspected as witches, but then their ghosts kind of haunt this town and start drowning like the boys in this town or something like that. I don't know that much. I don't want to know too much because I really just want to be surprised by this book. I'm also pretty sure that this was actually just picked up for a Netflix original series, which sounds so, so cool, so I really have to get on it and read this one soon so that I can be prepared for when the show comes out. I actually haven't heard too many reviews for this one yet. I've seen a lot of pictures of it, I've seen people include it in videos, but I haven't heard of anyone who like really, really loved it or really hated it or anything, so I'm excited to try it out and see what I think. Keeping on trend with ghosts in books, the next book that I have here is The Precious Dreadful by Stephen Parlato. I don't know too much about this story, but I do know that it's about this girl who's kind of just struggling in life right now, trying to find her place, but she's also dealing with these memories that keep resurfacing about one of her friends that she's been trying to push back for a very long time, but she can't really seem to put them together or figure them out. And while this is all happening, there's also this like ghost girl who ends up coming out of nowhere, and she's kind of dealing with this ghost being there as well. So it just sounds really interesting, and it sounds like something that I would really enjoy. So yeah, I cannot wait to read this one, and hopefully it is as good as it sounds. And I haven't heard anyone talking about this, so yeah, it might end up being like a hidden gem. And lastly, the very last book that Simon Teen sent over to me was I Have the Right To by Chessie Prout. This is actually a memoir. It's about this high school girl's survival story of sexual assault, justice, and hope, as the title says. It sounds like it's going to be very, very difficult to read and very important and impactful. Obviously, this is a very important topic right now. It's something that's being discussed a lot, so I think it's wonderful to have a memoir by a teen girl who is sharing her story. So yeah, I'm very, very interested to read this, and I might actually use this for like a paper in class. So moving right along, the next books that I have here were all kindly sent to me by Penguin Teen, and the first one is one that I've actually already done a video for, and that is I Have Lost My Way by Gail Foreman. If you haven't seen it, I recently uploaded a video talking about my reading playlist, all the music that I like to listen to while I'm reading, and it was inspired by this book, so I'll leave it linked on the screen if you're interested in watching that video. But this is Gail Foreman's newest book. I haven't read any of Gail Foreman's books before, but I've always wanted to. I've heard that her stories are really heartfelt and really heartbreaking, and those are the types of contemporaries that I really like to read, so I'm excited to try this one out too. But when they sent this book over to me, they also sent it in this like really, really great box with a few things, but one of the things was this notebook that's called Pour Your Heart Out, and it basically is like this journal. It says a journal to inspire your thoughts and dreams, but it's basically like a journal that has like a different prompt every day, and I've actually started using it already, so like you can see that I've written in it. But yeah, you can like make like a list and then like circle the things that you prefer fur or whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to show you all the things I've written because some of them are personal, but I'll show you a page that I haven't written on. It's basically like a prompt on one side, and then the other side is like a quote that is from one of Gail Forman's books, along with some like really, really cool artwork and stuff. It's just really beautiful. Like, I really love this notebook. I am a huge fan of journals and notebooks. Like, I have a whole shelf of them on my bookshelf. But yeah, this one's a great, great one. And like I said, I've already started using it and I'm really, really loving it. But along with the book and the journal, they also sent me my favorite thing I think I've ever been sent. And that is this amazing, huge, soft blanket. It's just like this white fuzzy blanket, and then the corner of it just says books are home, and it has the little penguin symbol at the bottom. And like, this is genuinely my favorite thing ever. I've been sleeping with it on my bed every single night since I got it. It's just like so soft and so comfy. Like, I want so many blankets. Like, I love blankets. Oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever been sent. I cannot wait to like curl up with this blanket and read that book, or just like write in that journal. I've done that already. Like, I've curled up with this blanket and written in that journal, and it's been a great time. But yeah, huge shout out to Penguin Teen for sending this my way, because literally like favorite thing I've ever been sent, hands down. The next book that they sent me was If You Come Softly by Jacqueline Woodson. This is the 20th anniversary edition, actually, and it is so beautiful. I love the artwork on the cover. All I know about the story is that it's a romance novel, and it follows this black boy and this Jewish girl, and how their differences kind of separate them and how it kind of tries to keep them apart. But I've heard that it's really, really fantastic. Clearly, it's a very well-loved novel if it's getting like a 20th anniversary special edition, and I've heard a lot of people reading it recently since this edition came out and giving it really good reviews, so I'm really excited to try it out. I also had a poetry collection by Jacqueline Woodson before. I think it's called Brown Girl Dreaming, and I'd read a couple of those as well, so I really liked her writing, so I cannot wait to read this one as well and hopefully enjoy it. And the two last things that Penguin sent me were Nemesis and Genesis by Brendan Reichs. These are both part of a series. This is the sequel to Nemesis. I was sent the arc for Nemesis quite a while ago, but I never ended up reading it, but now the sequel is out and I'm kind of intrigued to read them now. All I really know about this series is what I know based off of like this little blurb that's on the back of the book, but it makes it so interesting. Like, I'm so intrigued. Basically, I'll read it to you. It says, "It's been happening since Min was 8. Every 2 years on her birthday, the same man finds her and murders her in cold blood. And every time she wakes up in a clearing, alone, unhurt, and with all the evidence of the crime erased." Like, that just sounds so good. It sounds super thrilling and super entertaining and very fast paced. I've been really into books with a lot of action recently, which is not something I like to read too often, but for whatever reason, I've really been in that mood, and I feel like this series is going to be really great for that. So yeah, I'm very excited to try these out. All right, so next up, I have a few more books that were sent to me by publishers. The first one is Bygone Badass Broads by Mackenzie Lee. This is 52 Forgotten Women Who Changed the World. It's basically like this book that has some like facts and bios and stuff about like 52 different women who have impacted the world in one way, shape, or form, and it just sounds so good. Like, I am so excited to read this. I, one, love history, so reading like even a history textbook sometimes is entertaining to me, depending on the textbook, but I just like really like historical facts and learning about different people. I like reading people's bios and like biographies and stuff, so I'm so excited to just sit down and learn about some really cool, amazing, badass broads. So I cannot wait to read this one. The next book I have here was sent to me by Harper Teen, and it's one that I've been highly anticipating, and that is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is one that I've really been wanting to read because it's basically a novel told in the form of poetry, which just like, that sounds so cool. So if you look inside, it's basically like a collection of different poems, but all of the poems are combined to make one novel or one story. So that's just like the coolest thing in the world to me, and I love getting to read books that are in different unique formats, so I can't wait to read this one. It's also been doing really well. It's on the New York Times bestsellers list for like 2 weeks in a row now, and yeah, I cannot wait to read this one. I feel like I'm really gonna love it. The next book that I have here is another one that I've already done a video for as well, and that is Arusha and the End of Time by Roshni Chokshi. I made an entire video about some of my favorite books that include mythology, so I'll leave that linked on the screen if you're interested in watching it, but it was inspired by Arusha and the End of Time. So this is basically just like a middle grade novel that's inspired by Hindu mythology, and it's part of Rick Riordan's like new publishing imprint, which sounds so cool, and I'm so excited to read this book. It's been getting so many great reviews, and I just need more mythology in my life. And moving right along, the next two books I have to show you all were included in my Owl Crate and Fairy Loot boxes for this past month, and they were actually both the same book, and that book is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. And as you can see, I have two very different editions. This is the Owl Crate exclusive edition, and it has a green cover instead of the regular black US cover, and this is the Fairy Loot exclusive edition, which has the UK cover, but it's slightly different than the original UK cover. So yeah, they're very, very different, and now I have 3 copies of this book. I'm hoping to read it and really, really love it and just want to keep all of them because, like, I love the book and I like having multiple editions, but if I don't end up loving it, I'm definitely going to be giving away some of these. Alright, so this next stack of books that I have here are all some ARCs that I was sent over the past like month or so, and a couple of them are duplicates for finished copies that I showed you guys earlier, so I'll just kind of go through those more quickly. The first one is a duplicate. It's the Arc of Arusha and the End of Time by Roshni Chakshi. Like I said, I already mentioned this book, but now I have the ARC and the finished copy, so we'll see if I really, really love this one. I'll be excited to have both. The next ARC I have here is one that I had absolutely no idea I was getting. I didn't know I was getting most of these. I never usually know if I'm getting an ARC, but this one was a total surprise, and that is The Forest Queen by Betsy Cornwell. I have never even heard of this book before. I don't even know which publisher sent this to me. Which one is it? It's from HMH Teen, so thank you so much to them for sending this to me. So from what I can gather from the synopsis, it takes place in this fantasy world where this girl's sister ends up becoming the sheriff of their town, and he's a very abusive person and he's abusing all of the commoners, and she's kind of trying to find the courage to confront him. But it's also kind of fairy tale inspired, and it's inspired by Robin Hood, which sounds so, so cool. I don't think I've ever read anything that's like Robin Hood inspired at all, and I really like the story of Robin Hood, so I feel like this will be a really fun one to read. And this book comes out in August of 2018. The next book that I have here is one that is very special to me because it was sent to me by my lovely friend Jessie from Jessie the Reader. So a while back I was on Twitter and I was talking about Strange the Dreamer because the new UK paperback was released and it's beautiful, and I was talking about how I want to get that one, and then I would have 3 copies, which is like kind of excessive, but you know, I love having multiple copies of my favorite books. And he reached out to me and he asked me if I wanted an ARC of the book because he had one and he didn't need it. So he sent me an ARC of Strange the Dreamer, and I'm so, so grateful. Thank you, Jessie. I love you so much. You're the sweetest. But yeah, I am just so happy to have this. This is literally one of my favorite books ever, and having multiple copies in different formats is just so special and great, and it makes me very happy. So thank you again. It is like super hot today and I'm wearing a heavy jacket, and this video is taking a long time to film, so I'm sorry if I'm like super sweaty throughout this video. The next ARC that I have here is one that I am so excited to have because I've been highly, highly anticipating this book, and that is Fury Born by Claire Legrand. This is the first book in a brand new fantasy series, and I've been hearing fantastic things about this book. First of all, the cover is gorgeous, like drop dead gorgeous. This is one of my favorite covers I've seen recently. And second, the synopsis just sounds amazing. I haven't read too far into it because, as you all know, I don't like knowing too much of a synopsis before I go into a book, but basically it takes place in 2 separate timelines. So one, we have the story of this queen who saves her best friend's life, and it's kind of like this fairy tale in their land, and then like 1,000 years later we're following a different character who's a bounty hunter, and somehow this queen and bounty hunter have stories that are interconnected, and I don't know, but to me that just like sounds so, so cool, especially in like a fantasy setting. Yeah, and the synopsis says that they fight in a cosmic war that spans a millennia. Like, that just sounds so epic. What more could you want? So yeah, I'm very, very excited for this book. I cannot wait to read it. I'm definitely going to be reading it very soon. Like, I've been wanting and craving more fantasy, and I know that this is going to be one that I pick up pretty much immediately. The next ARC that I have here is another repeat of a finished copy that I had, and that is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. Again, thank you so much to Simon & Schuster for sending this my way. They also sent me a pop socket that came with this ARC of the book, and like, I did not have a pop socket before this, and now my life is like forever changed because pop sockets are amazing. Like, genuinely, I don't know how I held my phone before this. This is so nice and convenient and comfortable. Like, I love it. So yeah, huge thanks to them because I am so obsessed with this. They actually sent me 2 of them, and I gave the other one to my sister, and she's been loving it too. So yeah, I've been getting a lot of use out of this. Next up, I have a few books that were sent to me by Novel, and the first one is Tyler Johnson Was Here by J. Coles. This is a book that I've been anticipating for so long. I think it was on my list of most anticipated books of 2018. It's basically about about this boy and his twin brother, and his twin brother ends up being murdered by a police officer, and it's like caught on camera, and it's just like a very like emotional story already from the synopsis, so I need to be like in the right mental state to read this, but I've been wanting to read it for so long now. This one is actually out now, even though I just have the ARC, so I cannot wait to read it and have myself a really good cry, because I feel like this book is going to have a very deep impact on me. And the last ARC that they sent me was Love and Other Carnivorous Plants by Florence Gonzalez, and this is one that I've actually already read, and I really enjoyed this book. It doesn't come out until May, but basically it's about this girl who kind of has to drop out of her second semester at Harvard because she goes into treatment for an eating disorder, and then the story takes place after she has completed her treatment, so she's home now for the summer, and she has like reconnected with her best friend who doesn't know that she was in treatment, and she's kind of just trying to like put her life back together. But while she was in treatment, she met this girl and she kind of fell for her, and she ends up meeting her again out of treatment, and then the two of them begin to develop a relationship, and it's just a really good book. It has very dark humor, and it obviously deals with a very heavy topic, so I would definitely put content warnings on this for eating disorders, self-harm, a multitude of things. Like it's very heavy, but it's also very funny, and it's like my type of humor, and I really appreciated that about it. This book was just incredibly relatable for me. Like, I started reading it and like I started crying on like page 5 because like I couldn't believe how much I could connect with it, and that's like a really important experience for me when I'm reading. So yeah, I loved this one and I can't wait for it to come out and for more people to read it. And lastly, Novel also so kindly sent me paperback copies of The Diviners and Layer of Dreams. These are the first 2 books in the Diviners series, and these 2 covers match the cover that I have for the 3rd book, Before the Devil Breaks You. And I was talking about this series on Twitter, and Novel reached out to me and they were like, hey, do you want the 2 paperback copies that will match the 3rd book so that all of your books in the series match? And I was like, yes, thank you for understanding me as a person. So they were amazing and sent these to me, so I'm so happy to have these. But yeah, I adore this series. If you guys haven't picked them up yet, you really need to. It's so good. All right, I'm continuing to melt as I speak, but we only have 3 more books. So the third to last is Sight Witch by Susan Dennard. This is one that I picked up myself because 1, I love the Truth Witch series. It's so good. I absolutely adore those books. They're so underhyped. They deserve so much more love. And 2, I just love Susan Dennard as a person. She's great. I still have to read the 2nd book in the series and then go on to this one, and I can't wait for Blood Witch to come out. But yeah, I just really wanted to pick this one up because I wanted to continue on with the series. And lastly, finally, the last 2 books I have in this book haul are 2 copies of the same book because I'm extra like that, and also because this is genuinely like one of my new favorite books of all time. Quite possibly within my like top 2 favorite fantasies of all time. Like, it's that good. And that book is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I have 2 copies here, as you can see. This one is the regular edition of the book. So the difference is that I just threw that one over there, but the difference is that this one has like the black cover and it just has like the regular Children of Blood and Bone underneath, which is beautiful, by the way. And of course, like the map inside and everything. It's a gorgeous book. But I initially got this copy and I read it and fell completely in love. And then I knew that I also had to get the Barnes & Noble Special Edition, which is what this one is. The difference between that edition and this one is that this one comes, first of all, with like a map that you can like tear out of the back. So one side of it has like info about the clans that are in the series. So I'm trying to do this with one hand. It has like stuff about the clans, and then the other side has like a map. So it's like a poster, which is really cool. And then this one also has like a chapter in the back, which is annotated by Tomi Adeyemi, which is like so cool. So I'm so excited to read that. And my favorite part about this one is that under the dust jacket, this one is red and silver instead of gold, which is so cool. Like, it's so beautiful. I know that it's like excessive to have 2 copies of this, but like, no joke, I love it that much. But yeah, I haven't talked about this book too much on my channel yet. I'm gonna be doing like a complete spoiler-filled review for it because I love it that much and I need to talk about it with everyone because, oh my god, I can't recommend it enough. It's a West African inspired fantasy. If you love Avatar, you'll love this book. It is so Avatar. Like, it's so good, and I can't recommend it enough. Please read it. Alright guys, so there you have it. That is it for my huge book haul. If you could see my bed right now, it's literally covered in books. I don't want to have to put all of these away. But let me know in the comments down below if you have read any of the books that I mentioned in this book haul. Which ones do you think I should get around to first? Are there any that you're really excited to read as well? If you'd like to follow me on any of my social media, all of my links are in the description box as always. But thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!